Hi, my name is NURUL ASSYIQIEN BINTI DARWISAL. Our group will present the challenges of rural infrastructure development.
Infrastructure development in rural areas means planning, designing, building, and taking care of infrastructure. Infrastructure includes a wide range of physical structures and services such as roads, bridges, water supply system, sanitation system, electricity networks, communication networks, and more. Infrastructure growth in rural areas faces big and complicated problems that are different from those in cities. Rural places tend to have fewer people living there, less money, hard terrain, and a lack of skilled workers. It can be hard to plan, create, and build infrastructure projects that meet the needs of local communities when these things come into play. In Malaysia, there have been several successful rural infrastructure projects that have been implemented to improve the quality of life for rural communities. The first one is Rural Water Supply Project (RWSP). In 1973, the government of Malaysia initiated the Rural Water Supply Project to improve access to clean water in outlying areas in the country. Water treatment facilities, storage tanks, and distribution network were built as part of this project, which was overseen by the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development. The second one is Rural Electrification Project (REP). In 1982, the government of Malaysia initiated the Rural Electrification Project to bring power to the country's rural areas. The Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change led the effort to build power distribution lines and bring green electricity to homes in remote areas.
The challenge for the rural development, firstly, is the limited funding is one of the most significant challenges of rural infrastructure development. Rural areas often have a smaller tax base than urban areas, which means they have fewer financial resources to invest in infrastructure. This can lead to a lack of political will to invest in rural infrastructure projects, which can exacerbate existing infrastructure challenge. Next, the difficult terrain is another challenge that can make it more challenging to construct infrastructure in rural areas. Mountains, valleys, and rugged landscape can make it difficult to build roads, bridges, and other infrastructure. This challenge can increase construction costs and lead to longer project timelines. Moreover, the sparse population is also a significant challenge of rural infrastructure development. Rural areas tend to have a lower population density than urban areas, which can make it more challenging to justify investment in infrastructure. Policymakers may be more focused on urban development, where there is a higher concentration of people. Other than that, the limited access to skilled labor is another challenge of rural infrastructure development. Rural areas often have a smaller pool of skilled labor, which can make it difficult to complete infrastructure projects on time and within budget. This can lead to delays and cost overruns, which can further strain limited financial resources. Last but not least, the lack of reliable data is also a significant challenge of rural infrastructure development. Rural areas often lack reliable data on infrastructure needs and usage, which can make it challenging to prioritize projects and allocate resources effectively. This can lead to inefficient use of limited resources and may result in infrastructure projects that do not meet the needs of local communities.
Next, I will continue with innovative approaches of rural infrastructure development. Firstly, there is community-led development. Empowering local communities to take ownership of infrastructure development can ensure projects to their specific needs. Secondly, there is microfinance. Microfinance can help entrepreneurs and small business to find funds to their rural infrastructure projects. Thirdly, there is use of renewable energy. Renewable energy sources can be harnessed to provide electricity to remote communities. Next, there is digital infrastructure. The provision of digital infrastructure can help connect rural communities and support economic development. Lastly, there is public-private partnership. This is an effective way to attract private investment for rural infrastructure development projects such as telecommunications, water management, and transportation.
There are few policy recommendations for improving rural infrastructure in development. First, increase investment in rural infrastructure. The government should increase investment in rural infrastructure to improve road networks, water supply, and sanitation, among others. This can be done by allocating a higher percentage of the budget towards rural infrastructure development. Second, encouraging the involvement of the private sector. The private sector can play an important role in developing rural infrastructure. Government can create incentive for private companies to invest in rural infrastructure by offering tax breaks, subsidies, and other benefits. Third, focus on sustainable infrastructure development. The government should prioritize the development of sustainable infrastructure that is resilient to climate change and other environmental challenges. This includes using renewable energy sources, building green infrastructure, and promoting sustainable agriculture practices. 4. Improve connectivity. Access to information and communication technology can be improved rural life and increase economic growth. The government should encourage the development of ICT infrastructure, such as broadband networks, to improve connectivity in rural areas. And the last is empowering local communities. Rural communities should be empowered to participate in the decision-making process of infrastructure development. This can be done by providing them with information, resources, and training to participate effectively in planning and implementation.
Future direction for rural infrastructure development. The first one is integration of smart technology. With the increasing availability and affordability of smart technology, there is a growing opportunity to integrate this solution into rural infrastructure projects. The second one is expansion of renewable energy infrastructure. Renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydropower have enormous potential for rural areas, where they can help reduce reliance on fossil fuels and create new economic opportunities. The third one is development of sustainable infrastructure solution. In addition to renewable energy, there is a growing need for sustainable infrastructure solution that can help reduce the environmental impact of rural development. And the last one is increased focus on digital infrastructure. In today's increasingly digital world, access to high-speed internet is becoming an essential component of infrastructure development. In conclusion, rural areas face unique challenges when it comes to infrastructure development, such as limited funding, difficult terrain, and sparse population. Public-private partnership, community-led initiative, and innovative financing strategies can help overcome these challenges. Policy intervention, such as increased funding, streamlined regulatory process, and support for sustainable infrastructure solutions, can also support rural infrastructure development. Investing in rural infrastructure development can create new jobs, improve access to critical services, and promote economic growth and prosperity in rural communities. With the right strategic partnership and policy in place, you can overcome the challenges of rural infrastructure development and build the infrastructure necessary to support thriving rural community. That's all from me. Thank you.